Number 1. Tupac Shakur, 1971 to 1996. On a warm night in Las Vegas in 1996, one of the greatest voices in hip-hop was silenced forever. But the truth about where Tupac Shakur finally rests is something many fans still don't know. Tupac wasn't just a rapper. He was a poet, an actor, and a generation's loudest heartbeat. On September 7th, he was shot multiple times while riding in a black BMW on the Las Vegas Strip. For 6 days, millions waited, hoping he would wake up. But on September 13th, the world received the news it feared. Tupac Shakur had died at just 25. What happened next surprised even those closest to him. Instead of a traditional grave, Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, honored his deepest beliefs. She chose to have his ashes scattered in Soweto, South Africa, a place Tupac admired for its long fight against injustice. It symbolized freedom, resistance, and the struggle he spoke about in every song. Today, there is no tombstone, no cemetery, only a legacy spread across continents, and a message that refuses to die. Tupac rests not in one place, but in the hearts of millions who still hear his truth. Number 2. The Notorious B.I.G., 1972 to 1997. His voice shaped the sound of New York rap, and his words still echo through hip-hop today. But when the Notorious B.I.G. was killed in Los Angeles in 1997, his final resting place became one of the most quietly protected secrets in music history. Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls, was at the peak of his career when a drive-by shooter opened fire on his SUV after a music industry event. He was only 24 years old. The shock hit the world instantly. Fans crowded the streets of Brooklyn, chanting his lyrics and crying for the king they had lost. But unlike most celebrities, Biggie has no public grave. His family chose something far more private. They had him cremated, keeping his ashes close, away from crowds, cameras, and controversy. For a man whose life was lived in the spotlight, his legacy now rests in the quiet hands of those who loved him most. There is no cemetery to visit, no headstone to pose beside. Instead, Biggie's memory lives through his music, through every beat, every rhyme, every story he left behind. His final resting place is unknown to the world, but his impact remains everywhere. Number 3. Nipsey Hussle, 1985 to 2019. He wasn't just a rapper. He was a builder, a leader, and a rare voice pushing his community forward. And when Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in Los Angeles in 2019, the world didn't just lose an artist, it lost a visionary. Nipsey was standing outside his Marathon clothing store when a gunman approached and opened fire. In seconds, a man who spent his life trying to stop violence became a victim of it. His death sent shockwaves far beyond hip-hop. For Los Angeles, it felt like losing a hometown hero. But unlike many stars, Nipsey's final resting place is not hidden. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery, a place known for honoring legends. Thousands lined the streets during his funeral procession, watching as his silver hearse moved slowly through the city he loved and fought for. His grave has become a quiet spot where fans leave blue flowers, handwritten letters, and prayers. People don't go there for photos, they go for inspiration. Nipsey's message was simple: build your future, uplift your people, run your marathon. Even in death, his marathon continues. Number 4. Pop Smoke, 1999 to 2020. He was rising faster than almost anyone in rap, a voice so unique it felt like the start of a new era. But at just 20 years old, Pop Smoke's life was cut short in one of the most shocking crimes in modern hip-hop. Pop Smoke was staying in a rented Los Angeles home when intruders broke in during the early morning hours. What started as a robbery quickly turned violent. He was shot and later pronounced dead at the hospital. The news spread like wildfire. A young star, gone before he even had the chance to see his full success. His body was brought back to the city he always represented, Brooklyn, New York. Pop Smoke was laid to rest at Greenwood Cemetery, a historic place where many New York legends are buried. His funeral procession moved slowly through the streets of Canarsie, with fans blasting his music, revving bikes, and shouting his name in grief and pride. Today, visitors leave candles, blue flags, and notes at his resting place. His deep voice, drill beats, and unfinished potential still echo across the music world. Pop Smoke didn't get long on Earth, but the wave he started hasn't stopped. Number 5. XXXTentacion, 1998 to 2018. He was one of the most controversial, influential, and emotionally raw artists of his generation, and his death came as suddenly as his rise. XXXTentacion's final moments shocked millions, but where he rests today is something many fans still don't know. On June 18, 2018, XXXTentacion, born Yase Onfroy, was leaving a motorcycle dealership in Florida when two armed men blocked his car. What began as a robbery turned violent in seconds. He was shot multiple times and died before help could reach him. News of his death exploded online, sparking grief, anger, and disbelief around the world. His family chose a peaceful and private place for him, Gardens of Boca Raton Memorial Park. Instead of a traditional grave, X was placed in a white marble mausoleum, engraved simply with his name and the words XXXTentacion. Fans visit daily, leaving letters, drawings, sunflowers, and bracelets, symbols of the connection they felt with his music. For millions, X's songs were more than entertainment. They were therapy. They were a voice for pain no one else understood. His life ended at 20, but the emotions he poured into his music continue to speak loudly, long after he's gone. Number 6. Jam Master Jay, 1965 to 2002. He was the heartbeat of one of hip-hop's most legendary groups, the man behind the beats that changed an entire generation. But Jam Master Jay's life ended violently, and the music world felt the loss instantly. In October 2002, Jam Master Jay, born Jason Mizell, was working in his recording studio in Queens, New York, when a gunman entered and opened fire. The world watched in shock as news spread that the DJ of Run DMC, a pioneer who helped bring hip-hop to the mainstream, had been killed in cold blood. He was only 37. His family chose to lay him to rest at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York, a serene spot known for honoring music legends and public figures. Friends, family, and fans gathered to pay their respects, remembering not just the tragic end, but the incredible legacy he left behind. Jam Master Jay wasn't just a DJ. He was a mentor, a teacher, and a voice for young artists trying to find their place in the world. Even in death, his influence echoes through every beat, every scratch, and every track that shaped hip-hop. His grave may be quiet, but his music will never be silenced. Number 7. Slim Dunkin, 1987 to 2011. He was a rising star in Atlanta's rap scene, full of energy, ambition, and promise. But in 2011, Slim Dunkin's life was brutally cut short, leaving fans and the hip-hop community in shock. On December 16, 2011, Slim Dunkin, born Mario Hamilton, was at a recording studio in Atlanta when an argument escalated, and he was shot. The young rapper, only 23 years old, died instantly. His death sent ripples across the city, reminding everyone how fragile life can be, even for those chasing their dreams in the spotlight. Slim Dunkin was laid to rest at Rest Haven Gardens of Memory in Decatur, Georgia, a quiet cemetery where family and friends could honor his memory in peace. The funeral drew many from the Atlanta music scene, paying tribute to both his talent and the potential that was lost far too soon. Though his career was brief, Slim Dunkin left an impact with his music and collaborations. Today, visitors to his resting place leave flowers and mementos, keeping his memory alive. His life may have ended tragically, but his beats and lyrics continue to echo in Atlanta and beyond. Number 8. Bankroll Fresh, 1987 to 2016. He was a rising star in Atlanta's hip-hop scene, known for his raw lyrics and infectious energy. But Bankroll Fresh's life was tragically cut short, leaving fans and the music world in disbelief. On March 4, 2016, Bankroll Fresh, born Trentavious White, was leaving a recording studio in Atlanta when a confrontation turned deadly. Shots were fired, and at just 28 years old, he was killed instantly. The news sent shockwaves through the city, highlighting the dangerous realities many young artists face while chasing their dreams. Bankroll Fresh was laid to rest at Kennedy Memorial Gardens in Atlanta, Georgia, a quiet cemetery where family, friends, and fans could gather to honor his life and legacy. The funeral was filled with emotion, with fellow artists and supporters paying tribute to his talent, ambition, and the bright future that was lost too soon. Even though his career was cut short, Bankroll Fresh's music continues to live on. Every track and verse serves as a reminder of his energy, creativity, and the mark he left on Atlanta hip-hop. His grave may be peaceful and still, but his influence keeps moving through the streets and speakers of the city he called home. Number 9. Magnolia Shorty, 1985 to 2010. She was a trailblazer, a force in New Orleans bounce music, and one of the city's brightest stars. But Magnolia Shorty's life ended in a shocking act of violence that shook the local music scene to its core. On December 20th, 2010, Magnolia Shorty, born Renetta Yemeka Lowe, was shot and killed in New Orleans. At just 25 years old, her life and rising career were cut tragically short. The news left fans devastated, as she had been breaking barriers for female rappers in a male-dominated industry, leaving a legacy of influence despite her brief career. Magnolia Shorty was laid to rest at Mount Olivet Cemetery in New Orleans, a historic resting place where family, friends, and fans could honor her memory. Her funeral was a mix of grief and celebration, with the community coming together to remember her talent, her energy, and the spirit she brought to her music. Though her time was brief, Magnolia Shorty's impact continues to resonate. Her songs, her style, and her influence on the New Orleans bounce scene keep her memory alive. Even in death, she remains a symbol of talent, ambition, and the power of music to inspire generations. Number 10. Soulja Slim, 1977 to 2003. He was one of New Orleans' most iconic voices in hip-hop, a man whose music told the raw truth of the streets. But Soulja Slim's life ended violently, leaving a city and a generation in shock. On November 26, 2003, Soulja Slim, born James Tapp Jr., was shot and killed outside his mother's home in New Orleans. At just 26 years old, his life and career were abruptly taken, a stark reminder of the dangers many young artists face. Fans mourned the loss of a rapper who spoke for the unheard and captured the struggles of his city in every verse. Soulja Slim was laid to rest at Mount Olivet Cemetery in New Orleans, the same cemetery where other local legends are honored. Friends, family, and fans gathered to pay their respects, leaving behind flowers, letters, and tokens of remembrance, keeping his spirit alive. Though his career was tragically short, Soulja Slim's influence endures. His music continues to echo through the streets of New Orleans and beyond, reminding everyone of his talent, his story, and the life that ended far too soon. Even in death, his voice refuses to be silenced. Number 11. Doe B, 1991 to 2013. He was a rising star in Alabama's rap scene, a young talent whose music was just beginning to make waves. But Doe B's life was tragically cut short in a shocking act of violence that left fans and the hip-hop community in mourning. On December 28, 2013, Doe B, born Glenn Thomas, was performing at a club in Montgomery, Alabama, when gunfire erupted. At only 22 years old, he was shot and killed, instantly ending a career that showed so much promise. The news stunned his community, as he had become a voice for the streets and an inspiration to young artists chasing their dreams. Doe B was laid to rest at Greenwood Serenity Memorial Gardens in Montgomery, Alabama, a peaceful place where family, friends, and fans could gather to honor his life. Tributes poured in from across the country, with people remembering his music, his ambition, and the potential that was lost far too soon. Even though his life was brief, Doe B's legacy lives on through his songs. His energy, his lyrics, and the story he shared continue to inspire those who knew him and those discovering his music for the first time. His voice may be gone, but his impact remains. Number 12. Young Pappy, 1995 to 2015. He was one of Chicago's rising voices in the drill scene, a young rapper whose energy and lyrics captured the struggles of the streets. But young Pappy's life ended violently, leaving a city in mourning. On May 20th, 2015, young Pappy, born Leland Austin, was shot in Chicago at just 20 years old. His death shocked fans and fellow artists alike, cutting short a career that was gaining momentum and influence in one of hip-hop's most intense music scenes. The streets that inspired his music now mourned the loss of a young life with so much potential. Young Pappy was laid to rest at Rose Hill Cemetery in Chicago, Illinois, a historic cemetery where family and friends gathered to honor his memory. The funeral was filled with emotion, as people reflected on his talent, his struggles, and the mark he left on the Chicago rap community. Though his life was tragically short, young Pappy's music continues to resonate. Every verse, every beat, and every story he told remains a testament to his voice and the culture he represented. Even in death, his influence on Chicago hip-hop remains strong.